Hello once again, guys. Welcome back to Stock Radar. I'm glad to have you guys here. This week you guys voted on NVIDIA stock as the stock we analyzed this week on Stock Radar. A very logical pick. There's a lot of excitement surrounding these technology and semiconductor stocks right now. And so definitely interesting time for NVIDIA as far as being a shareholder or just taking a look at the stock as far as whether or not you might decide to invest in a company like NVIDIA. Now, a lot of people often ask me, would I buy NVIDIA stock? And because I already have shares of AMD stock, I would not buy NVIDIA. The reason for that is because, in my opinion, and now understand that NVIDIA does largely, generate revenue now from their GPUs, but they have all these different potential business avenues down the road that they'll hopefully get into. But right now, they derive most of their revenue from gaming GPUs. And so in order for AMD to do exceedingly well, NVIDIA would have to do less well, I guess, or they would do poorly because they essentially have a duopoly when it comes to GPUs. And so as far as myself, I'm more into AMD just because I think they have more potential to grow. But I don't blame people for holding NVIDIA stock. I think it's a very interesting company. But because I already have an investment in AMD, I don't think it would make sense for me to invest in NVIDIA as well, because if AMD does exceedingly well, then NVIDIA is not going to be doing as well because they're losing market share. So it's kind of counterintuitive to have a bet on both. But some people might disagree with me, so I would be open to that discussion as well. Let me know what you guys think over in that Facebook group. But let's go ahead and start with an overview. The symbol is NVDA on the NASDAQ. They have a price to earnings ratio of 45, which scares a lot of people. They pay a very small dividend, a dividend yield of 0.23%. They have a 6-year history of paying that dividend and only a 4-year growth streak. They have a market capitalization of $158 billion. Now, despite the fact that they do pay a dividend, I'm still going to call this a growth investment because that's a very nominal dividend. So they're a growth investment. Nobody out there is really labeling NVIDIA as an income investment. But down the road, once they're out of this high growth mode, they probably are a company that has a very good potential to become a good growth and income investment. And as far as the age goes, NVIDIA is a 25-year-old company. So a little bit of background on this company. NVIDIA is a worldwide visual computing company, and they operate under two different segments. That is the GPU segment and the TEGRA processor segment. And we're going to go over both of those in a little bit here. But the key markets they are involved with are gaming, and that's their biggest market right now. They're involved in professional visualization. They're involved in the data center market, and they're also getting involved in the automotive market as well. So they're in some very interesting markets that have high growth potential. So let's go ahead and start off by talking about this GPU segment. And some people know what these are, some people don't. I'm going to go through and explain this very quickly here. So if you do know, maybe you want to skip ahead, but if not, this is what a GPU is. So a GPU is a special card in the computer that processes the graphical tasks. Not every computer has a GPU. Laptops have a different type of GPU than a desktop computer does. Typically, it's the high-end computers that have a GPU. So myself, for example, I use a GPU for visual processing, and for video editing, I use an NVIDIA GPU. They have some of the best cards out there. Your computer may have just integrated graphics, or it may have a separate graphics card. So your CPU might have integrated graphics included on it. Most CPUs do, especially I believe the Intel ones, but the actual computers themselves, some of the higher end desktops have a separate graphics processing card called a GPU. Your computer can have both integrated graphics and a GPU in that case. If you do not need a GPU to handle what you are doing at that moment, then your integrated graphics will take over to save power. So they kind of go back and forth based on the workload. GPU has special RAM called VRAM, very fast RAM for graphics. A GPU has special outputs for displays, HDMI, DVI, not so much VGA anymore. So that's a very basic idea of what a GPU is. It's specifically designed to handle graphics workloads for a desktop computer. They make GPUs for both desktops and laptops, but they're going to be different types and sizes. Just because right there we have a picture of a GPU for a desktop, that's not going to fit very comfortably into a laptop. So there is a different size card that goes into a laptop computer. But that is what NVIDIA is producing. That's where they're generating most of their revenue right now, is from these types of cards, these GPUs. And then we have the TEGRA, which is SoC, or a system on chip, and we're going to briefly go over that as well. And I do apologize if I'm not really getting into this much. I don't know a whole lot about this side of things, but I'm doing my best just to give you guys a very basic explanation here. TEGRA is a central processing unit. The TEGRA is a system on chip series developed by NVIDIA for mobile devices such as smartphones, personal digital assistants, and mobile internet devices. And this was just a quick little PowerPoint here I found on what is system on chip SoC. It's a complex integrated circuit that integrates the major functional elements into a single chip or chipset. So with an SoC, you have programmable processor, on-chip memory, accelerating function hardware, both hardware and software, analog components, opto/microelectronic mechanical systems. But mainly what we want to focus on here is the benefits of SoC, reduce overall system costs so they're less expensive, increased performance, low power consumption, and reduced size. So I'm sure you guys can imagine why these are being used on mobile devices and handheld devices, low size, low power consumption, high performance, and reduced overall system cost. So they're developing inexpensive chips for low power applications that have to be obviously in a compact size. So that's the TEGRA side of NVIDIA's business. That is what the TEGRA SoC is. Now, if we break down the actual GPU segment, these are the main areas that they are focusing on and the specific cards they have for these applications. First of all, anybody who has ever built a gaming computer or gotten into PC gaming is familiar with NVIDIA GeForce for PC gaming. Those are those gaming GPUs we looked at earlier. They have NVIDIA GeForce Now, which is for high-performance cloud gaming. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. They have NVIDIA Quadro for professional applications like computer-aided drawing or video or photography editing. They have NVIDIA Tesla for artificial intelligence and deep learning. They have NVIDIA Grid specifically for data centers, NVIDIA DGX for artificial intelligence researchers, and they also are going to be releasing cryptocurrency-specific NVIDIA mining cards. So let's go ahead and look at this a little bit more here looking at the website. This is very interesting to me, first of all, this NVIDIA GeForce Now, where you can get instant access to high-performance GeForce GTX gaming in the cloud. Join the beta free for Mac. I'm not a gamer, so I don't know a whole lot about this, but essentially what they're doing is they're connecting you to graphics cards, these GTX graphics cards through the cloud. So you can pretty much turn any computer out there that has a fast internet connection into a gaming computer just by connecting to GeForce Now. You don't actually have to have the card on your person or on your computer. You're connecting to a card through the cloud that's going to give you the high performance gaming, but just through a fast, internet connection here. So this is actually going to be a membership, I believe, or from some articles I was looking at, they're going to sell bulks of time, like 20 hours of gaming or 40 hours of gaming for a set price. But very interesting. This is the first company I've heard that is doing this. If I'm wrong on that, please correct me. But as far as the companies that I've seen that are involved with gaming, this is completely new. And this really caught my attention, this idea of being able to have high-performance gaming without having all of that equipment actually in your computer. You're connecting to it through the cloud. So that is very interesting to me. Over here we have the NVIDIA Quadro. This is for design and visualization. And I just did a drop down there just to show you guys what industries are using these cards. You have architecture, engineering, and construction. Obviously a lot of CAD going on there. You have education, manufacturing, and then media and entertainment. So primarily it's computer-aided drafting and then photo or video editing. And it says from stunning industrial design to advanced special effects to complex scientific visualization. So those are all the different applications. NVIDIA Quadro is the world's preeminent visual computing platform, trusted by millions of creative and technical professionals to accelerate their workflows. Only Quadro has the most advanced ecosystem of hardware, software, and tools to transform the disruptive challenges of today into businesses' success of tomorrow. So that is pretty much what this is here. Obviously, it's involved in more, professional applications. But what I want you to keep in mind as we're going through this is all of these different applications for these cards that NVIDIA is producing, these visualization cards. Moving on here, we have the NVIDIA applications for the data centers. This is the NVIDIA Tesla. And this is the list of solutions here under this here. It's for artificial intelligence and deep learning, high performance computing, GPU cloud computing, GPU virtualization, and obviously analytics, Tesla data center GPUs for servers, accelerate your most demanding HPC and hyperscale data center workloads with NVIDIA Tesla GPUs. Data scientists and researchers can now parse petabytes of data orders of magnitude faster than they could using traditional CPUs in applications ranging from energy exploration to deep learning. So there are so many different applications for these actual devices. Energy exploration to deep learning, all kinds of different things. Tesla accelerators also deliver the horsepower needed to run bigger simulations faster than ever before. Plus, Tesla delivers the highest performance and user density for virtual desktops, applications, and workstations. So very interesting areas that they are getting into in applications for the NVIDIA Tesla, another device they offer. Moving on here, this is the NVIDIA Grid, NVIDIA Virtual GPU, powerful virtualization for applications, desktops, and workstations, virtualizing the world's most advanced data center GPUs. NVIDIA's virtualization platform gives you the power to extend NVIDIA GPUs to anyone in your organization, from knowledge workers and mobile professionals to designers and engineers. Count on unparalleled performance, a rich ecosystem of partners, and a roadmap of continuous software innovation to give your VDI users the best experience on any device, anywhere, on-premise, or in the cloud. So again, this is similar to the NVIDIA GeForce Now. This is the ability to access GPUs in the cloud for professional applications. Nothing opens new possibilities for your digital workspace like a GPU-accelerated data center. Absolutely amazing what this company is getting involved with. Moving on now, equally exciting is the NVIDIA DGX-1 essential instrument of artificial intelligence research, the fastest path to deep learning. Building a platform for deep learning goes well beyond selecting a server and GPUs. A commitment to implementing AI in your business involves carefully selecting and integrating complex software with hardware. NVIDIA DGX-1 fast-tracks your initiative with a solution that works right out of the box so you can gain insights in hours instead of weeks or months. And again, this is a big thing that NVIDIA is doing, is they're no longer so much a hardware company as they are becoming a solutions company, and that's going to make them a more valuable company providing a more valuable service. So they're not just giving people this hardware and saying, okay, you have to design, the software for this. They're giving you a complete functional package here, and it's very interesting to be seeing this company switching from a hardware company to more of a solutions company. Another big plus here that I have for NVIDIA. So that is it for the GPU segment. I know that's absolutely amazing how much NVIDIA is involved with in all these exciting industries, but there's more. There's more to this. We have to talk about the TEGRA processor segment, and primarily this is two avenues they are exploring. Number one, automotive and self-driving computers, and then number two, mobile applications for home entertainment, AI, and gaming. So first of all, let's talk about the self-driving cars, driving innovation, NVIDIA Automotive. Artificial intelligence gives cars the power to see, think, and learn so they can navigate a nearly infinite range of possible driving scenarios. NVIDIA AI platforms deliver a powerful cloud-to-car solution from NVIDIA DGX systems for training deep neural networks in the data center to NVIDIA Drive solutions that enable real-time, low-latency inferencing in the car for safer driving. NVIDIA also partners with leading automakers like Toyota, Mercedes-Benz, Audi, Volkswagen, and Tesla to revolutionize how people drive and empower vehicles to drive themselves. So if you're interested in autonomous driving and maybe you're not a fan of Tesla, you should really be looking at NVIDIA. They are a key supplier and they're going to play an integral part in the autonomous driving industry that is going to be emerging. Moving on here, I think I have a few more slides on this. NVIDIA Drive has over 370 partners. This includes car makers, mobility services. Again, nobody's thinking about this right now, but think about, people who need to get to, the doctors, or they need to get to the grocery store, or old people, medically disabled and elderly people are going to be able to have mobility now at an affordable price. And I would imagine this is going to be very disruptive to services like Uber unless they're able to integrate that as well and have mobility services and eventually implement these driverless cars into an Uber-like fleet. But it's just amazing where this trend is going. HD mapping companies, software companies, truck makers. We're not just talking about small consumer vehicles. We're talking about truck makers. Again, this is something Tesla is getting involved with as well, but they're a part of Tesla. They're working with Tesla on their autonomous driving. Tier 1 suppliers, sensor companies, and research institutions, over 370 NVIDIA Drive partners. And then as far as their handheld mobile devices go, they have the NVIDIA Shield using the TEGRA X1, the NVIDIA Shield tablet using the K1, Google Nexus 9 using the TEGRA K1, the Acer Chromebook, the TEGRA K1, Chromebook 14 TEGRA K1, and the Nabi Big Tab TEGRA 4. This is not why people are buying NVIDIA. This is a very small piece of their business, but these very low power, efficient, inexpensive TEGRA chips have just so many different applications, so we're going to be seeing these used in a lot of different places. Okay, so now that we have a background on what NVIDIA is and what they are doing, let's go ahead and start with the pros. First of all, they have huge growth opportunities in some really key segments here. Data centers are huge, artificial intelligence, autonomous driving, cloud computing, and digital currencies. I really can't think of another company out there that has so many growth opportunities in all of these key, exciting areas. But understand that as a result, that is why we are seeing a very high valuation with NVIDIA stock, because of all of these huge growth opportunities. So they're very exciting opportunities, and that's my dishwasher draining, if you guys can hear that in the background, just in case you can. But anyways, they have all these huge growth opportunities, but because of that, people are very excited about NVIDIA shares, and they're dumping in money today, and they're getting in on this today. And the one thing is, this is all down the road, a number of years until they're going to be turning a profit from these different businesses. But they are involved in some very interesting businesses. That is a huge pro for them. This is a pro and a con, and this again is kind of why I talked about why I'm an AMD shareholder, not an NVIDIA shareholder. NVIDIA currently dominates the GPU market, but they're losing market share to the underdog AMD at a pretty rapid rate. So John Petty Research released its discrete graphics card market share report last week. JPR reports that AMD has improved its market share by 6.5%. quarter over quarter. So in one quarter, they improved market share by 6.5%. That's absolutely massive. And 4.2% year over year as expected. NVIDIA's market share fell accordingly. So yes, NVIDIA dominates the GPU market, but I don't think that's going to be for very long, because of the fact that AMD is seriously edging in on them and regaining market share in the discrete graphics card market for gaming. But then keep in mind, there are so many different applications for the NVIDIA graphics cards, but AMD also has some wonderful products as well and some different applications for them. But the bread and butter for them right now is this business. This is where they're generating most of their revenue, is from gaming. And when they lost 6.5% market share in one quarter, that is very concerning to me. Moving on here, another pro. Data center customers include some huge companies. Baidu is using their products. Google is using their products. Facebook and Microsoft. So when you have these massive data companies using the NVIDIA products for their data centers, that is absolutely huge. So that is a pro. There's a huge amount of trust in NVIDIA. Another pro is the Drive PX Pegasus, as we talked about a little bit earlier. This platform architecture allows our partners to build and deploy self-driving cars, trucks, and shuttles that are functionally safe and can be certified to international safety standards. 225 plus companies are developing on the Drive DX Pegasus platform by NVIDIA, and 25 of them are developing fully autonomous solutions. That is absolutely amazing. NVIDIA Drive PX Pegasus will help make possible a new class of vehicles that can operate without a driver. And this just is insane to me when I read this. It almost gives me chills. But this is where we are heading, just so everyone is clear. Fully autonomous vehicles without steering wheels, pedals, or mirrors, and interiors that feel like a living room or office. That is where we are going, is these vehicles that we sit in that actually feel like your living room or your office. They will arrive on demand to safely whisk passengers to their destinations, bring mobility to everyone, including the elderly and disabled. That is where we are going, and NVIDIA is going to play a huge part in this with the Drive PX Pegasus. Another pro I have for them is that NVIDIA is no longer tethered to the PC. This is also like Micron Technology. We talked about how they used to be really tethered to the PC, and also Microsoft when they were strictly the software company. These companies have all figured out how to break away from the PC. We know the personal computer is dying. Less people are buying computers and desktop computers, and so they are no longer tethered to the PC. There are so many growth opportunities for this company. And the other thing I like about NVIDIA is they have a very strong history of earnings surprises. This was the last 4 quarters, and they had a 50% surprise in July 2017, a 41% surprise in October 2017, 55% surprise in January of 2018, and a 27% surprise in April of 2018. So they've been blowing earnings per share out of the water and making these analysts look like they have no idea what they're doing. That is what I like to see from a company, is killing it with the earnings. And then finally, as far as the pros go, I want to share this dialogue from their CEO. This is from the Motley Fool, called The 3 Key Growth Drivers for NVIDIA. Number 1, soaring popularity of esports. From Hang's remarks, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing that wrong. And what drives our gaming business is several things. As you know, esports is incredibly vibrant, and what drives esports is people want to win, and having better gear helps. The latency that they expect is incredibly low, and performance drives down latency, and they want to be able to react as fast as they can. For those not familiar, esports generally refers to multiplayer video game competitions, particularly between professional players. Similar to traditional professional sports tournaments, for esports have sprung up, which are broadcast live and provide prize money. NVIDIA CFO Colette Kress shared some amazing esports stats earlier this year on the Q1 call. NVIDIA's GeForce was the graphics platform of choice at all of the top esports tournaments, so they're killing it in the high-end market here for their GPUs, including the finals of the Big 4 international competitions. And this is absolutely crazy to me here, but esports is now as popular among US male millennials as America's favorite pastime, baseball. Esports is equally as popular as baseball among male millennials right now. And more people watch gaming than HBO, Netflix, ESPN, and Hulu combined. I had no idea how many people were watching gaming. So the second key growth driver for NVIDIA is the increasing quality of video game content. Remarks from the CEO. The second growth driver for us is the quality of content. If you look at Activision's Call of Duty or Destiny 2 or PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, the content just looks amazing, and one of the things that is really unique about video games is that in order to enjoy the content and the fidelity of the content, the quality of the production value at the fullest, you need the best gear. And so when AAA titles come out in the later part of the year, it helps drive platform adoption. So what they're saying here is that these new titles that have serious reputations, when they come out, that encourages people to upgrade their graphics cards to experience them at the highest quality level possible. And then third and finally, the sharing of video game experiences. This is all of the Twitch streamers and the live streamers out there that are streaming their gameplay. Lastly, increasingly social is becoming a huge part of the growth dynamics of gaming. People recognize how beautiful these games are, and so they want to share their brightest moments with people. They want to share the levels they discover. They want to take pictures of the amazing graphics that are inside. And now with our Ansel, the world's first in-game virtual reality and surround and digital camera, we have the ability to take pictures and share that with people. So they are including ways to share your gaming experience right within that platform. So that was the commentary from the CEO on the 3 key growth drivers for NVIDIA. I thought that was worth mentioning. Okay, so now that we talked about the pros for investing in NVIDIA, now we have to move on to the cons, and the biggest con that I have is that this is a market high flyer that is currently hyped by the market, and we have to keep in mind that currently gaming is roughly 60% of revenue. This is the segment where they're losing market share to AMD, and all of this pricing today is based on future growth. Do I believe in NVIDIA? Absolutely, 100%. Do I believe this stock is going to go off without a hitch for the next decade? Absolutely not. We are going to see a massive correction taking place with NVIDIA at some point in time. I have no idea when it will be, but it's because all of this is based on future growth. And their key market right now, their bread and butter, the gaming segment, they are losing a massive amount of market share to their competitor, AMD. Now let's take a look at the valuation here to see whether or not this stock is overvalued or valued at higher than the competitors. So we have NVIDIA, AMD, Intel, and ASUS. So NVIDIA has a PE ratio of 45. AMD, you can't get a good PE ratio on it because they just turned to profitable, or they just became profitable, so their PE is in the 200 plus, but it's because they are just now becoming profitable again. Intel has a PE of 16.2 and ASUS has a PE of 14.6. So ASUS has the lowest PE, NVIDIA has the highest at 45. Looking at the forward PE, NVIDIA comes in at a 33, AMD at a 25, Intel at 13.8, ASUS at 12.1. Again, NVIDIA is the highest, ASUS is the lowest. Now yes, NVIDIA has more going on than these other companies, primarily talking about Intel and ASUS, but the valuation is significantly higher here. The PEG ratio, NVIDIA is a 2.6. AMD, again, it's hard to get a good number on this because they are just turning to profitability. Intel, 1.5, ASUS, 1.9. So on a price to earnings to growth basis, Intel is the cheapest, NVIDIA is the most expensive, and price to sales, 14.4 for NVIDIA, 2.5 for AMD, 4.1 for Intel, and 0.48 for ASUS. So ASUS comes in the cheapest, NVIDIA is the most expensive. So looking at these four key metrics here, the price to earnings, the forward PE, the PEG, and the price to sales, NVIDIA is the most expensive stock among the competitors, and it's something you have to keep in mind as an investor. Another con we have here, and this is one you're going to hear a lot from the crypto bears, is the longevity of cryptocurrency and how much of that is basically affecting the GPU demand at this point in time. The graphics cards that both NVIDIA and AMD are producing are used for cryptocurrency mining applications, and the argument is basically, is this going to stick around? Are cryptocurrencies going to be a legitimate thing for a long time, or are they going to collapse, and as a result, will the mining of this cryptocurrency collapse, and then we're going to have a flood of GPUs hitting the market, secondhand GPUs, and there's going to be very little demand. That's one of the arguments that cryptocurrency bears have in particular. But in my opinion, we're seeing cryptocurrency prices stabilize at normal price levels, and I expect that this is going to be a long-term thing with healthy demand going forward. Another con, and something we're going to talk about a little bit later, and it's something that makes this stock NSFB or not safe for beginners, is the beta of 1.55. It's a very volatile stock, but if you compare it to AMD, I think their volatility or their beta is over 3. So they're not as volatile as AMD, but this is a very volatile stock. And if you're not used to investing in technology stocks and you get emotional when you see prices go up and down, stay the hell away from stocks like NVIDIA and AMD. Even if you're excited about them, you have to get more experience in the market before you invest. Okay, so now we're going to talk about something very important, and that is knowing when to buy NVIDIA stock. And let me give you a hint, not right now. Right now is not the time to be investing in NVIDIA stock. And if you can look at this chart here, you'll be able to tell me why. It's because we're at all-time highs for NVIDIA. Yes, this is the most exciting time to be an NVIDIA shareholder, but this is not the time to buy NVIDIA. You don't buy stocks at all-time highs, especially technology stocks. So just a little bit of background here. We have our whole course on technical stock analysis by Nicholas J. Paris in this group. If you guys haven't gone through that, take the time to do that. But the 50-day simple moving average here is serving as a support for this stock at this point in time. As you can see, back in February, it was a support that it tested, and then it broke above that as a support. It tested again in March. It fell below this in April to May, but now it broke above it again. So if you were going to add or basically start a position in NVIDIA stock, I would buy this stock close to the 50-day simple moving average. So at this point in time, when I pulled this data, the stock was 262.10, and the 50-day SMA is at 238.56. So if you are looking to buy NVIDIA stock, you buy it in the 240 range. You buy it around this 50-day SMA. You do not buy it at all-time highs. And unless you're doing a super long-term position and you're okay with seeing it drop 10 or 20% in the short term, if you're looking to buy at the best time or at least somewhat time the market, do a little technical stock analysis on this one and pick it up when it drops down to a support. And then finally here, let's go ahead and wrap up by talking about the barriers to entry for NVIDIA. Number one, it is the fact that they have a GPU duopoly between AMD and NVIDIA. Not a lot of competitors out there. And primarily that has to do with the patents that both of these companies have. It would be pretty much impossible to enter the GPU market without stepping on the toes of the patents of either of these two companies, or Intel for that matter, with their integrated GPUs. Number two, high startup costs associated with this business. Number three, research and development. Number four, the massive amount of patents that NVIDIA has. Number five is the fact that they are price performance competitive with AMD. And but again, that's kind of a con as well, as the fact here that that's pretty much what they have, is price performance. If there's going to be better performance at a better price, people are going to switch to AMD. There's a lot of people that are loyal to NVIDIA, but these gamers are going to go for the best possible cards. And so you pretty much have two markets with gaming. You have the affordable market as far as what people are going to buy, most people are going to buy, and then you have the super high-end market for people that are going to spend whatever amount they need to for the best possible graphics. But basically, being price performance competitive is a barrier to entry because somebody else who is going to enter this space would have to be price performance competitive with both AMD and NVIDIA without stepping on their patents. So they're very safe in this space, in my opinion, except for the fact that they're up against each other. And then sixth, the final one, is the fact that NVIDIA is transitioning into becoming a solutions company, not just a hardware company, which is going to get them away from being price performance competitive and solely competing on price, because they're able to provide solutions to people, not just hardware. And that's primarily to their professional customers and business customers. Okay, so that wraps up the beginning of our analysis here. This is probably going to be the longest video yet. NVIDIA is a very interesting company. There's a lot to talk about. But now we're going to jump over and take a look at the key financial documents. And as always, we're going to start with the balance sheet and take a look at the assets. So total assets have grown every single year since 2015 at an average rate of 16.7% per year. And total assets grew 14.2% from 2017 to 2018. Cash and cash equivalents have grown significantly since 2015, but they actually declined quite a bit over the last 2 quarters. So they burned up that cash pile. I'm not sure what that was, whether they were paying down some debt or if there was some kind of acquisition. I'm not really sure where that money was going. Cash and cash equivalents have grown every year since 2015, and we saw cash and cash equivalents grew 127% from 2017 to 2018. Total assets grew 21.9% from quarter 2 to quarter 1, so over the last 4 quarters, from that last quarter to the most current one. But then, like I said, we saw cash and cash equivalents decline significantly over the last 2 quarters, from $4 billion to $765 million over 1 quarter. So they did burn up quite a bit of that cash. Moving on now, let's take a look at the liabilities. Total liabilities declined from 2017 to 2018. That is what you want to see from a company. Assets are going up, liabilities are going down. That is stellar. Total liabilities declined from 2017 to 2018. Meanwhile, total assets grew 14.2%. Long-term debt has been steady over the last 2 years and over the last 4 quarters. We're not seeing any growth of long-term debt. Total liabilities declined from quarter 4 to quarter 1. So NVIDIA has a very manageable debt load. Current assets have excellent coverage of current liabilities of a ratio of 8.54 to 1 in the most recent quarter, and anything above 2 to 1 is excellent. And current assets have excellent coverage of total liabilities of 2.52 to 1 in the most recent quarter. So all of their current assets, their cash and their assets that are readily convertible to cash within 1 year, have complete coverage of their total liabilities. They have 252% coverage of all of their debts. So they have a very healthy balance sheet. So what we can see here is that NVIDIA has shown steady asset growth with shrinking debt. This is exactly what I like to see on a company's balance sheet. Moving on here, let's take a look at the revenue and then cash flow from operations. Total revenue has increased every year since 2015 at an average rate of 28.5% per year, and total revenue grew 40.6% from 2017 to 2018. 40.6% growth in revenue in 1 year. That is why people are getting so excited about NVIDIA stock. Gross profit has increased every year since 2015 at an average rate of 32% per year. And when you are seeing gross profit outpacing the rate of total revenue growth, that is indicating better margins. And also we saw cash flow from operations increased 109% from 2017 to 2018. Absolutely impeccable results here. And then looking at the financial ratios here, they have fantastic coverage of their debts. Great current ratio, quick ratio, and cash ratio. And just look at how these numbers have pretty much doubled here. Their cash ratio went from 380 to 616. Quick ratio 433 to 734. Current ratio 477 to 803. This is a company that has very little debt. They're a very lean company, and it's absolutely fantastic to see that. Gross margin is up over the last couple of years, 56 all the way to 60%. Operating margin has gone from 15% in 2016 to 33% in 2018, more than doubled in 2 years. Same thing with pre-tax margin, same thing with profit margin. ROE is up pre-tax and after tax. This company is absolutely killing it with their margins. Very profitable company. Moving on here, let's take a look at the actual share performance over the last year and over the last 5 years. So NVIDIA stock is up 76.3% over the last year compared to a 21.2% return from the NASDAQ. And over the last 5 years, NVIDIA stock is up 1,719% compared to a 119.9% return from the NASDAQ. Absolutely insane what this stock has done. Back on June 7th of 2013, this was a $15 stock, and now it's a company that is, with a market cap of $160 billion and, $262 per share. It's unbelievable what has happened with NVIDIA. So due to the financial strength, growth opportunities, and overall interest, they have everything going for them right now, and so as a result, everyone is loving this stock and buying shares left and right, and so it's really priced up. It's had a massive run-up. NVIDIA stock has had a massive run-up. I do not recommend technology stocks to beginners. They're very volatile, and they can be an emotional roller coaster. So unless you're a seasoned investor or you're not emotionally attached and you have massive risk tolerance, I wouldn't be getting into NVIDIA stock. And again, like I said, if you are adding NVIDIA to your portfolio, you're going to want to buy it on a correction. So know when to buy this stock. And then finally, we're going to wrap up with some key financial notes here from the most recent earnings report for Q1 of fiscal year 2019. Record revenue of $3.21 billion, up 66% from a year ago. Record GAAP earnings per share of $1.98, up 151% from a year ago. 151% growth in earnings per share. Record data center revenue of $701 million, up 71% from a year earlier. During the first quarter of fiscal 2019, NVIDIA returned $746 million to shareholders through a combination of $655 million in share repurchases, so they are being very generous with share buybacks, and $91 million in quarterly cash dividends. Gaming revenue grew 68% from a year earlier to $1.72 billion. Data center revenue grew 71%, which we mentioned earlier. Professional visualization grew 22% from a year earlier to $251 million. And automotive revenue grew 4% from a year earlier to $145 million. The reason why we're seeing very little growth in automotive revenue is because we're still very early on with that. We're going to see the huge growth in that in the years to follow, but their key growth areas are gaming and the data center. That's where they're killing it, is in those two markets. They're doing pretty well with professional visualization, and the automotive growth is going to be down the road. But anyways, guys, that wraps up this analysis. It was an absolute marathon. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll do a poll over in the Facebook group. I'm curious how many people are NVIDIA shareholders or if you're considering this stock. But it was a great one to analyze, so thanks for putting it up for a vote. And I will see you guys in the next video.